Todos somos parte de todo. Por lo tanto, eres parte de Dios. Llegaste a este mundo lleno de dones y talentos. Descubre cómo fluirlos sin límites. Un mundo en donde todo es posible. Ya es momento, adéntrate y descubre cómo todo está lleno de posibilidades. Abre tus brazos, pues todo está a tu alcance. La prosperidad está en cada partícula de ti. Prospera con el Liberto. Bienvenidos.
Hello, 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 everyone. I'm so happy to be here. This is the first program that I do in English. And I'm very, very, very happy to be here with one of my dear friends, Christine Besa. Rather than me introducing Christine, I would like for Christine to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen Vesa, and yes, I am here with Eliberto. Looking forward to having a conversation.
Yes, and today we are going to be talking about decision making from a state of peace. I think this is something that is a space that we all need to get into. And the reason for that is that decision making is the beginning of something new. And there is always a lot of thinking, a lot of what's going to happen, what is the result of taking this decision. And we always look at right, left, center, best case scenario, worst case scenario, and we can begin to put our minds into the whole concept, and we can even get crazy. That's why I think it is important to take a pause and to enter into that space of being the witness, that state of peace that is within all of us. And from that space, begin to look at things for what they are, without any emotions, without any judgments, without any expectations. Because I think that has a lot to do with the fear that goes along with decisions. What are your thoughts, Christine?
Yeah, I agree. I think that you can't think your way through a lot of the best things in life. So being able to process a decision with your heart more than your mind is very important.
But what really calls my mind, Christine, is the fact that if we are conscious of how the mind functions, the mind is always looking around things, but not in the current moment. I remember when we went to school together in Agape, going through that book, The Mandala of Being. It is interesting how the objective consciously will be to live in the present moment. But the mind is afraid, is in panic to be in the current moment. And primarily, if we look at a circle, the mind usually gets involved with the past or the future, my story or somebody else's story, but we don't get into the current moment. So what we learned, I remember in that book, is how can we consciously come into the current moment, to be in the here, in the now. And how when we are in the here, in the now, we can consciously enter into that space of witness that I said at the beginning, and to begin to observe the experience from the observer, not from my own subconscious mind, which are all the fear and all the noise of the world, of those false beliefs that bring us into chaos. And the other thing that is important to understand, Christine, I think it is the fact that the purpose of the mind is to think. And I remember when we were in class at Agape, there was 4 letters that, in a way, no, 4 words that start all with the I that connect us with what is. I don't know if you remember when we were talking about the left brain and the right brain. In the left brain, we have the instincts and the intellect, and in the right brain, we have the imagination and the intuition. And how the instincts work from the point of view that we are inclined to do something and we don't know where it's coming from. We just get the feeling somewhere in our bodies. However, what happens when we begin to think about something in the intellect? We just keep thinking and thinking and thinking, and it's like there is no end in the tunnel. And I remember a phrase from someone that I heard in the internet that says, analysis leads to paralysis, meaning that we analyze so much that we never get into conclusions. But that is the left part of the brain, which is also called the masculine side of the brain. But we also have the feminine side of the brain, this where we have the feelings and the emotions and so on. And we have available these 2 tools that I think are very important, which is intuition and imagination. And how through imagination we can build into something positive, but at the same time we could use imagination to build into something negative. Because, for example, I can use my imagination to create something that I want to bring into life. Like, for example, for this telephone to be available today, somebody had to imagine that in this small little piece, there could be 150 applications, that I could have my whole office here and my office will go with me wherever I go. But that is an objective use of imagination for something specific that involves not only one person's imagination, but involves a lot of people's imagination, because I'm completely sure that whoever developed this, who are all billionaires at this point, they just put together a whole team of people that put this whole effort together in one big bundle of ideas. But then let's look at the negative side of imagination. And I remember something that Michael Bernard Beckwith used to say: worry is a wastage of our own energy. And what happened when we worry? We feel that something has taken place. We go through the pain and through the emotion, but it happens in our mind because it hasn't taken place. And I remember something that Michael said that is clear in my mind. He said, worry is the same like going to a bank, asking for a loan. They don't give you the loan, but you are happy to pay the interest. Would you do that in your right mind, Kristen?
No, thanks.
But why do we worry though? Because we all worry.
Yeah.
We pay the interest by meaning we go through the pain, we go through the suffering, we go through all these chemical processes, and we don't get anywhere because we don't move from where we are. And sometimes we just choose worry, yes? So it is interesting how, by understanding how all these emotions work and how we can use something as imagination in favor of us or against us, we can become the observer of our experience. And at least if I ended up using imagination against me, I can say, hold on a second, what am I doing? Is this taking me somewhere, or is this just going around in that circle that I talked about at the beginning? However, there is another space which I think is the most missed, but at the same time is the most helpful, which is connecting with the intuition within us. That is space in which we just allow ourselves to go within, connect with our own energy, connect with that part us that knows, and from that space, we can receive revelation. We can be guided into the right decision. We can be guided into what we need to do consciously or what needs to be done. So, what are your thoughts about these four tools that we have available to us that all begin with the letter I?
Yeah. So there are those 4 tools with the letter I, and Alberto explained very clearly the difference and the way that they can be used for positive or negative. I think the bigger thing is that we are born into cultures and societies and with people that are running their emotions and their intellect in a certain way. So a lot of what we do is unconscious programming. And so it's more, to me, why don't we do the positive more than the negative? I believe it's because of the programming, the way that it's been, the how we've been raised, and what's normalized in most of the world today. And the revelation is the self-awareness to make discernment, to make those choices. So knowing the 4 is important, understanding the 4 is great. And then the key, though, is noticing where in life one is running by the intellect, running by the fear, doubt, worry, lack, limitation, and where knowing that there's an ability to stop, to recognize that that's a pattern, that's an old pattern, that's something that's been run forever. That's just a way that societally we've been brought up. We've been trained like monkeys to worry. And we need to get out of that consciousness. We need to retrain our monkey mind, and we need to lean into the beautiful heart and the beautiful intuition, and that, like Alberto said, a lot of the feminine energy of allowing, the art of allowing, the art of intuition, the art of imagination, and move away from the machine that we've been raised in and told that it is the way, and become the good soldier in the machine and do the things this way that someone told you, pass the test, get the good grades, keep running. And remember, if you don't pass the test, you're nothing. Like, that's where we've just been so programmed, brainwashed. And we've been, treated like, take that monkey mind, make us a bunch of monkeys and do what the monkey trainers want us to do. And we have to stop, and we have to stop allowing that. One of my favorite movies in the past decade is the movie Get Out. I think it is absolutely the epitome of put the cotton in your ears and do not listen anymore to that systemic brainwashing, and get to your core and find your inner guidance and your inner balance and your inner peace, which is what we're calling this, decision making from a state of peace. So the first question is, how do you get to peace? That's what I think.
It is beautiful the way how you mention it, Christine, because the reality is that we have learned worry, we have learned fear, we have learned scarcity, we have learned not feeling good enough. But those are processes that we have learned in the first 7 years of life. It is known that what we believe, our system of beliefs, is determined in the first 7 years, which means that we learn our beliefs from our parents, from our teachers, from our friends, from the country where we're brought up in. And this becomes the automatic, the subconscious way in which how we react to life on a day-to-day basis. The best way to express this is when we learn how to drive. We go from point A to point B, and the ideal will be for us to be focused on the road. However, as we are driving, going somewhere from point A to point B, we have a ton of thoughts about what I need to be doing tomorrow, where I need to pick up my kids, what I'm going to have for dinner, whether I need to go to the supermarket or not. And when we arrive to the destination, but our mind was somewhere else. So the same way how we learn automatically how to drive and be consciously driving and at the same time having the mind somewhere else, well, that is what we do all the time. We are reacting based on a system of internal beliefs and patterns that have been learned. And the interesting thing is that our parents, they learn that from their parents. And these patterns and beliefs can be transgenerational. And the beauty of this is that if we are not aware that we are just repeating these like little robots, we end up doing the same mistakes our parents did, and we don't even realize it. So I think we're here to wake up. We are here, like you said, to get out. I think one of the best decisions I ever had was to stop watching TV in the late 90s. And I survived without watching television for the last 30 years. And some people say, but how do you find out what's going on in the world? And I said, well, the world will connect with me. Somebody will tell me what is going on. And I can tell you that you can live without TV. And through TV, we are also brainwashed. So we learn what we learn, and we set our systems of internal beliefs in patterns in the first 7 years. So I think as we grow up, as we enter into this spiritual development work, it is important for us primarily to unlearn rather than to learn. Is to unlearn all those beliefs that no longer apply to our lives. The other thing that to me is very clear is that this amazing journey that we call life is not about accumulating, it's about living. And unfortunately, we get so focused on the fact that we are our bodies, and we get so controlled by the matrix, by the monkey mind, that we end up the majority of our lives accumulating degrees, accumulating houses, accumulating wealth, without realizing that everything that we are accumulating is going to stay here. And I think we are better off living in the now, living in the here and now, and enjoying life rather than accumulating, because everything that we touch will stay here. When we came here, we arrived naked. And we're only going to take one set of clothes, and that set of clothes will stay with us in the body. So we came here to experience life, to navigate through the world of the emotions. And in this process, we are enriching ourselves, and we are enriching the source that we are, which is wholeness, which is the one mind, which is the spirit within. However, it takes time. We need to have a spiritual practice, and we need to be able to stop, consciously stop. The reality is that this journey of a spiritual development to me is like an onion. You first uncover one layer, and when you are done with that layer, you go with the next one. And then you go on and on and on. And the other thing to consider, Christian, is that life is eternal. So this is only one of the many lives, or the many stages of spiritual development that we are living. And we need to be kind to ourselves. We need to be able to take that pause, to be able to enter into that space of the witness in which we observe without judgment. Because the problem is that we are judging everything, and we're judging ourselves, and we can be the worst judge of ourselves also. What do you think about that?
Yeah. And when you say judge, the first thing that comes back to my mind is that judging is the opposite of peace. So again, a lot of these concepts you're talking about, peeling away the layers, understanding that 0 to 7, we have so much programming, and then thinking about, well, how do we undo that? How do we peel the layers away? How do we get to that core? Another analogy that that I've recently started thinking about is, digging for gold, right? You're digging and digging and digging, and some people give up 3 feet away. All these different analogies of that. And then to Heliberto's point of one life, next life, like this is the vein of gold. What's that vein of gold for this life that you're going with the flow in, which is non-judgmental, right? Another day digging for more gold, non-judgmentally, just in peace, peacefully digging for the gold, peacefully proceeding, peacefully knowing that the layers are coming off of the onion or whatever that is that it's the joy in the journey, and that's where the peace is found. And any that's the judgments or the shoulda, woulda, not good enough, any of that stuff that's other than peace. It's having the discernment to recognize it, feel it, awaken to it, and then find individually our unique ways in which we move from those places to peace. There's a really good book that I have recently, not only read, but shared with so many people. And it's called Burnout, and it talks about completing the stress cycle. So stress is a part of life, right? Stress is what gets our cells moving. Like there's the positive side of the inertia and the energy and the motivation that, there's that you can call that stress. So stress I just want to be really clear that I'm not talking about only negative. I'm talking about energetically spending energy, right? There's a point where if you keep going in the spending, you get depleted. So it's how to realign, how to nurture yourself, how to stop the depletion and come back to wholeness. And the shorter that cycle time, the shorter time that you're in that stress where you can go towards burnout, the sooner you complete the cycle of stress and the more you stay in peace. I think that's what I'm feeling into as I think about, what is the state of peace and what is the opposite to that, and how do we stay in peace, and what are the mechanisms? What are the ways we can stay aware when we're not in peace, and then what decisions can we make to come back to peace? And it can be different for each one of us.
I like this concept that you're bringing of being in a state of peace. I think either we are in the current moment and we can perceive our experience from that state of peace, or we choose to be in the subconscious mind, meaning going into the past or going into the future. If I focus my mind in my past, most likely I'm going to find things that I don't like. But what happens when I focus my life in the past? Do I have the power to change the past? No. Whatever happened, happened. The past cannot be changed. And I think that is something that is difficult to accept for a lot of people, because many people would love to change the past. And I am conscious now that the past, I cannot change it, but I can change the perception of how I choose to see my past. In reality, the past doesn't exist because I only have the now. But if my mind chooses to be in the past, then I'm not living in the current moment. I'm just living in my mind. If I choose to live in the future, that can bring me into anxiety. And my understanding from the spiritual point of view is that the only time we have is the now. In the now, I can make decisions and I can choose from where I'm going to reach those decisions. I think at the end of the day, there is two roads. One is love and the other one is fear. And it's when we can enter into that space of wellness, of acceptance that we are part of this universe that is complete, of this power that is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. If I know that this omnipresence is also in me, if I know that this power that for simplicity, I can call God, exist, I'm also part of that. So I think it is important to be able for us to connect with that wholeness that we are part of, because that gives us this structure, these columns from which to begin to observe the experience. As long as I am in a state of fear, I feel that I don't belong and I feel that there is separation. But as long as I connect with this power within and knowing that I'm part of this perfect energy that is love, that is peace, that is harmony, that is joy, how can I feel separated from it? And what I'm calling is the state of oneness. I truly feel that I'm one with this power that breathes me, or I feel that I'm separated from this power. But the question is, how do I do this connection? How do I connect with source? As who's the person who talks about source? It is this lady, how do you call it? Abraham
Hicks.
Abraham Hicks talks about source. So what is interesting, the example that comes to my mind is that most people don't leave home without a telephone. And most people don't leave home without a telephone that is charged. And most people will take the time to charge the phone on a daily basis. Now, the question that I have for all of you who may be seeing this program is, do you spend the time to charge and to activate your spiritual muscle? And the only spiritual muscle that I know is a spiritual practice. What do I do on a daily basis to stay connected, to keep myself in a high vibration, to make sure that my frequency is felt wherever I am? So the way how I perceive this, and this is my way to understand it, if my spiritual practice is this small, this is how I'm going to experience my life as a liberator. If I'm able to open up and include in my spiritual practice either meditation, a spiritual mind treatment, visualization, having connection with nature, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be opening myself up to this connection. And what happens when I have a strong practice in which every single day I devote time in the morning and in the evening? I'm going to begin to practice living in the presence. And when I practice living in the presence, I'm going to face any challenge from that state of peace because I have done my job. I have done my work. I'm connecting myself with spirit. So if all I do is to connect my phone, to be connected with the noise of the world, I'm going to be affected by the noise of the world. But if I have a solid spiritual practice on a daily basis, no matter what happens, I'm going to be able to look at that experience from the presence within. And that presence within, to me, is peace. What are your thoughts about that?
I appreciate everything you said. And of course, it's part of our training as spiritual practitioners. And I think what I've come to understand is, I remember years and years ago working with Tony Robbins, one of his big deals is, can I constant and never ending improvement? I'd like to reframe that for all of you. Constant and never ending good. I think whether you're thinking about the past, whether you're imagining the future, you have a choice. You can look for ways that things didn't go well. You can look for that thing that needs to be improved, or you can look for these spiritual qualities. You can feel that moment of peace, whether it was in a situation with family, with loved ones, at the top of a mountain looking at a view, It's okay to spend time in the past in the joy and the love and the peace and the harmony. It's okay to feel that. In fact, that's one of the ways to complete the stress cycle. It's one of the ways to bring your heart into coherence. It's part of that exercise to regulate your body, is to, really identify a moment where you felt so much love, so much joy, so much peace. And if it's a time that means it's the past. So there's a reframing to me about that. You can also, in the future, imagine yourself, right? Even the top athletes imagine themselves winning the race. They imagine, they use their mind, they use their body, they use their spirit to connect with that which is the glory that they want, the love, the harmony, maybe it sounds materialistic because it's the gold medal. It's the feeling of winning the race. It's the joy. It's the, I'm getting married, so I'm feeling into my wedding day. I'm imagining my wedding day. That kind of feeling tone. You're doing it in the present, but you're leaning into those positive qualities. And I think one of the biggest ones that transcends all of time is gratitude. Gratitude for everything that you are, that you do, that you have, that you are, that you will do, and that you will have. Gratitude can transcend all the time. So I love what Heliberto said, and I ponder it because I think it's constant and never-ending gratitude, constant and never-ending joy, constant and never-ending seeing the positive in every moment that has been, that is, and that will be. That's so different than constantly looking, judging, blah, 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 what can be better? No, what is beautiful?
What is
right
good?
Now.
What is good?
What is good? What is beautiful? Every spiritual quality you can imagine. And that is what the spiritual qualities are about. So the oneness to me is really, when we talk about oneness, we really lean into qualities that feel good, qualities that bring joy, that bring out the love and the harmony and the feeling and the sense of peace. The truth is, things that aren't that are also part of oneness. And it's the edge. If you didn't, I listened to a lot of Esther Hicks and Abraham and that. So she nearly always brings in, it's from what we don't want that we know what we do want. And it's from the things that don't feel good that we know what does feel good. So the both sides of the coin, that makes sense, because and it's finding that that's part of the oneness and that's part of the good too. Oh, that thing that happened that I feel in my body about, it happened so that this more good can happen. It's that evolutionary, constant unfolding and growing for more and more good. You go from good to better. That means that good is not as good as better, but it's all good. So that's how I would say it. As I was listening to you and thinking, it's okay to be in the past in love and to be in the future in imagination of the positive. That's actually okay. And it's okay to bring that into the now. And it fuels the now and the forward motion.
I love what you said. And it really, I would like to add that gratitude is the door that leads us into prosperity. And the reason for that is because when we live in a state of gratitude for what we have, whatever it may be, everybody's at a different level, but when you have a practice of gratitude and you feel grateful for everything that you have, you are allowing for what flows into your life to continue to grow. And I think it's a practice that everyone should have. Now, the important thing is to understand that we are not the experience. I think we can easily get into a state of mind in which we get so involved with the experience that we feel that there is no exit from the experience. And what is interesting is that regardless of what the experience it is, there is always a solution. There is always a way out. And we are not the experience. We go through experiences, but every single experience is temporary. And I think it is important to also understand that where are we focusing our mind? Because in science of mind, which is a philosophy that we both follow, we learn that our thoughts and our words are energy, and that is creative energy that creates our experience. So if I focus on what I don't want, I'm going to bring into my experience more of what I don't want. And that's why it's very important for all of us to be conscious of where we are focusing our thoughts on. Because we look at this whole process as a there is a spirit that is the cause or first cause. We look at the subjective mind of the soul, and then we look at the manifestation, which is us. So what are we? We are spirit that descends through the soul, and this energy condensates itself to manifest the world of the form, which is what we are. So we are this trinity all the time. But based where I focus my mind, since we are all sharing one mind that is creative, all these thoughts get into the creative mind. So the experiences that we have is the result of the thoughts and feelings that we deposit in the creative mind. So what am I depositing in the creative mind? I am depositing prosperity. I'm depositing gratitude. I'm depositing love. I'm depositing harmony, or I am depositing fear. So we create the experience based on the thoughts and the feelings that we deposit into the creative mind. So we need to be very cautious. Where are we focusing our mind? What is interesting to know is that we have free will. And in that free will, we choose a position. And when we choose a position, we are activating the law. Why? Because the spirit is cause, but at the same time is law. And we live in a world that is ruled by the law of cause and effect. So we need to be aware that our thoughts and our feelings create the experience. So if I focus on worry, if I focus on fear, if I focus on lack, I'm going to be experiencing more of this that I don't like. But if I focus on gratitude, if I focus on harmony, if I focus on faith, if I focus on positive things, I and you have the ability to design the life you want to live. It is interesting to know that at some point we are using the law of the mental equivalent. And the law of the mental equivalent says that wherever I focus my mind, I'm creating a feeling of acceptance that is going to attract that which I'm focusing my mind on. So we are the creators of the experience. We cannot change the effect, but we can always select a new thought to have a different effect. So it is important then where I'm focusing my mind, and it is important to be aware that whatever is taking place is temporary and is not what I am. I'm going to give you an example. If I go bankrupt, it's an experience, but it doesn't mean that I'm a bankrupt person. It means that I experienced this, I learn from the experience and I can get out and do something else. Most people who have succeeded in life have failed many times. However, there are people who have failed one time and they feel they are a failure. Indeed, they are not a failure. They tried and it didn't work. But when you feel that you are a failure because it didn't work, then you are limiting yourself to the experience. And the message that I have is that you are not the experience. You are something much more important. You are part of the divine. Your divinity experience life as Christian is experiencing life as Christian. Eliberto is experiencing life as Eliberto, and everybody is, in a way, experiencing life based on their own perception and their own spiritual development. What are your thoughts on that, Christine?
Mhm. I think it's another way to say the things that I was saying too. And that word gratitude just keeps coming up for me. So if you find, I guess what I'd like to say is, if you find yourself spinning in a negative of choice, what's the question? What's the choice point to get out of that? In that same situation, look for what you're grateful for. So I've heard this applied to money in a way that I think is interesting. Money is energy, and energy is attracted to positive energy. So ignoring money makes money go away. Negative talk about money also repels money. But positive gratitude. So think about that in your relationships. Do you enjoy spending time with the people that speak with you positively, or the ones who ignore you? Do you enjoy spending time with the people that treat you with love and kindness and want to have more time, spend more time with you? Or do you prefer the people that criticize you and judge you and wish you would go away, or feel that they make you feel that you're a burden? So again, it's everything is energy, and energy is attracted to like energy. So we all get to discern. We all get to have that free will of what good and bad is in our personal opinion. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's part of the condition. It's part of how life flows. And there's also cycles, right? Like a tree in the spring, it blossoms, has leaves, and then in the fall it falls off, right? These cycles. These are natural cycles. They happen over and over. We have the same kind of things, and they may be a 30-second cycle, or it may be a 30-year cycle. They're not quite as cyclical as a tree in nature in a 4-season environment, for example. So there's a natural ebb and flow in everything. The key, though, to peace, right? We're talking about a state of peace. What does it take to find the state of peace? What does it take to stay in the state of peace? First, it's a conscious awareness when we're not in peace. And then it's the discernment to see where we're focusing our attention that is not peaceful. Whether it's complaining about the driver in front of you, the day at work, the thing that happened with your family member, colleague, friend, whatever, the news, it doesn't matter where the input's coming from. Discern what that input is that is taking you out of peace in the moment, and get out of that and choose peace. Choose something to be grateful for. One of the great practices for heart coherence is to think clearly, bring the image in your mind of a person or a pet that you just love so much that as soon as they say your name, as soon as that person or that pet or that place comes to mind, you just, So that's what I would offer, is find your peaceful, peacemaking moment, your peaceful place that you can replace your non-peaceful mind with when it happens. That's what I'd like to leave you with.
I love this your conclusion, to look for that space of peace. I would like to add that you are not the experience you are living in. And what you are experiencing at any point prior to reaching a decision, it is just temporary. You are not your story either. Whatever you're going through is a temporary experience. I love what you said, Christine, about reach that space of peace. But at the same time, to reach that space of peace, we need to step into the current moment. We need to be able to look at the experience without judgment. And then begin to observe and be aware that there is more than the experience available to you. And from that space, begin to look at everything you've done, all what you have accomplished, all the things that in the past you faced and you were able to succeed. So there is a lot of resources within you. But going into that space of gratitude, bringing those moments in which you have been successful and you have succeeded or whatever you did in the past, that's helpful. Getting into that stage of gratitude and understanding that you are not the experience, that you are part of this beautiful energy that is, we call the one power, which is called, we call it universe, we call it God, we call it whatever you want to call it, whichever you believe is, connect yourself with that energy that is within you. And know that when you observe from that space of peace, you will be guided always to the right decision. And life will continue. And remember, don't look backwards. There is nothing out there that is going to help you except to live in the current moment. We only have the current moment to reach a decision. And within you, there is wisdom. Within you, there is intelligence. Within you, there is every quality of the divine that is available to you. So you are not alone. You are not an entity separated from Source. You are part of Source. And as long as you have a spiritual practice, as long as you understand that you are not your experience, as long as you observe from the observer and from all these divine qualities and all that you have accomplished, the right solution from this state of peace will flow from within. And then you will be able to continue through every to face every challenge from that space of peace without judging. Because the problem is that we get frightened by the experience and we go into fear, and fear brings us into paralysis. That's been the modus operandi for many years for many people, and I include myself in it. Nowadays, whenever I need to make a decision, rather than to get involved with the noise and get into the judgment and get involved with all the possible outcomes, I just enter into that space in me of the observer. And from that place of opportunities available, because remember, we live in a world of infinite possibilities. Deepak Chopra is very good at explaining this. And also, Marion Williamson, she speaks about the Course of Miracles, and she says that wherever you are, there are miracles moving around you, waiting for you to accept them. Because in order for us to receive, we need to accept it. And that's why it is important to be in that state of peace where you can receive the wisdom, the guide to be able to get into the right decision. But there is miracles waiting for us to be aware that they are there and for us to welcome them. So the gift is received from the space of joy. You want to conclude, Christine?
Yes, I do. And thank you for asking. So in all that Heliberto said, once in a while, I find myself with just this blank space and it's all possible. And I just want to leave you with this kind of, where do you go from there? Build on the beauty The power is in the peace, and allow your intuition and imagination to flow.
And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you.
Again, thank you, all of you for joining us today. I know some people will see it later on. I don't think I explained who I am at the beginning. I am a licensed spiritual practitioner with Centers for Spiritual Living, and I am part of the Centers for Spiritual Living in Mérida, in Mexico. And I had the joy to study with Christine Year 1 practice at Agape University. And it is a joy for me to be here with Christine today. We always said, oh, let's do a Facebook Live, and we never did it. And we didn't plan this. We just did it out of the joy of being together and sharing what we are, because we are both practitioners. And I'm going to tell you one more thing. I haven't done a program in English in the last 4 years because I left the US in 2019, and I was concerned that my English was going to be rusty. But hopefully you understood what I said.
Absolutely.
So, Christine.
Yeah. And I'm an Agape licensed spiritual practitioner with Agape Spiritual Center, which is in, we meet in Beverly Hills now. But anyway, online, in person, just enjoy, again, supporting others to identify that the self-awareness and discernment moment to moment, find the peace.
Why don't you explain, Christine, to everyone, what is the job of a spiritual practitioner?
So the way that I would explain it is a spiritual practitioner holds the space, is the container for someone to, we typically work in a session that's 45 minutes to an hour. And we start with an evocation, a slight prayer. And we identify, what is your intention for the session? And a lot of times someone comes in with something that's not very peaceful. And really, we hold the space and we guide through questions, similar to the way Heliberto and I worked here today, to we literally feel the transformation of the energy into a much more peaceful and joyous state by the end of the session. That's really what happens.
And what we do is we have a questions and answers, and we go from the situation of experience that is causing pain to the person into the emotions involved. And from those emotions, we go deeper into the feelings. And from those feelings, we go back to the cause. And it's there where the healing really takes place. So that's what we both do. So Christine, thank you again for being here with me today. It's a joy to have you over, and hope this is not the last program we do together.
Exactly. Thank you, Heliberto. Thank you so much. And
okay, so again, thank you everyone for being here with us. It was a real joy to spend this time with you, and we'll see each other again in the near future. Thank you, and have a great rest of the day.
Todos somos parte de todo. Por lo tanto, eres parte de Dios. Llegaste a este mundo lleno de dones y talentos. Descubre cómo fluirlos sin límites. Un mundo en donde todo es posible. Ya es momento, adéntrate y descubre cómo todo está lleno de posibilidades. Abre tus brazos, pues todo está a tu alcance. La prosperidad está en cada partícula de ti. Prospera con el Heliberto. Bienvenidos.